Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Hare Krishnas in Britain podcast. This is episode number 48. As we approach our 50th episode, we're coming up to our second birthday. The podcast has been running since February 2021. And as you know, I've kind of relaxed the rules the last 10 or 11 or so episodes, and I've allowed devotees from outside of Great Britain, as great as it is, to come and appear on the podcast. And I'm really excited to welcome our guest this week, all the way from South Africa. That's why he's smiling so much, because I'm sure South Africa, I've never been, but I'm sure it's a beautiful, beautiful place. Please welcome our guest this week, Jagannath Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol, Hare Krishna. Nathan, how are you?
I'm great. I'm getting ready for Christmas. I love Christmas. I love to eat. And yeah, yeah, and I'm having a good day so far. So let's start, Jagannath, because most of our viewers and listeners at home unfortunately won't know who you are. So let's start by you telling us who you are and where you're from. Tell us a bit about your background.
So now my legal name is Mokoena Sirami Jacob. So Mokoena means I come from the African clan of the lions, the lion clan people, right, in Africa. And Sirami means cold. So you are experiencing me there with the cold. But isn't it funny though, like my name also has Ram in it. So Sirami, so it has Ram in it. So it's always been one of the things that I've been questioning about my journey in spiritual consciousness like this. So yeah, so it means Lord, it has that name of Lord Ram in it. You know, Ram means pleasure or spiritual happiness, spiritual pleasure or happiness. But yeah, it's funny because yeah, it simply means cold. So Jacob, you already know who Jacob is. So, but then my initiate name is Jagannath Das. So I'm from South Africa in a province there that is called Free State.
Okay.
In a small town. Yeah, so in a small town called Bethlehem.
Wow.
You know, like where Jesus was born.
The birthplace of our Lord Jesus Christ, which is right. Yes. It's an appropriate place to live if coming up to Christmas. Jesus was born in Bethlehem at Christmas in just a couple of days' time.
Yes. So yeah, I come from that small town that is called Bethlehem. So yeah, I grew up in a Christian family. So like we are very Christian people there. So in a nutshell, that's who I am. Of course, I'm a poet. I'm a writer. Just took out a book now called Honest Truths of a Black Hare Krishna Monk from South Africa. Yes, and you have a copy. That's
yes,
nice.
I am a man of my word. I bought a copy. I haven't started reading it yet, but I plan to over the Christmas break.
Yeah, and it's a shock because I don't have the book myself. So I don't know how large and big the book. It looks like an encyclopedia.
It's like 260 pages. And this is a challenge for me because I have a short attention span, but hopefully I will get through the end. I'm really excited about reading it, actually. It's just the kind of thing I'm interested in.
Yeah, you're gonna find nice you'll definitely find some nice stories in there, some nice insights.
I had a table.
So yeah.
So you're a poet, you're a writer.
I'm a musician also, yeah.
Musician. You're very talented at things that I'm not talented in. I'm not a poet or a writer. Sorry, I'm a writer. I'm not a poet or a musician.
You are a writer, yeah.
I am a writer.
Like, hey, you are a writer.
So tell us a bit about how you discovered Krishna consciousness. What inspired you to get involved with the Hare Krishna movement?
So I'm one of those growing up as a Christian and as a student at school. I've always been one of those people who are questioning life, always looking for the purpose, the meaning of life. What is this whole thing about? Why am I here? What's the catch here? You know, what's the trick? Why is human beings in this planet, and what is the purpose of human life? So, but then you see, schools can't teach us these things. Schools, they only teach us how to become workers. They can't teach you about spiritual things, where you come from, who are you, where are you going after life, life after death. So I've always been going to the library, self-study, reading books that seem like they got answers. So and of course, on the side, I was doing my own meditation and yoga. Nobody taught me how to do meditation and yoga. So I went to this library and I discovered a book actually written by one Neil Donald Walsh. So this book was about conversations with God. The title of the book is Conversations with God. So I found out later when I was in Krishna Consciousness that he's sort of like a Mayavadi philosopher. He's sort of like an impersonal philosopher, right? But funny enough, in the book, I discovered the name Krishna. I hadn't met devotees, didn't know about Krishna consciousness or ISKCON or anything like that. But I found that amidst the names like Jesus Christ, Allah, Buddha, there was also this one Krishna. So I didn't know who Krishna was. So naturally, I went to the internet to find out who's this Krishna. So in the internet, I found his picture where he's showing his universal form, right? So I'm seeing this person and he has many other expansions of himself on the sides. But now I needed more knowledge. So fortunately, I talked about this with one of my friends and he said, hey, you know what? The way you are describing this Krishna and his movement, it's like one friend of mine in Bloemfontein who is into something like this. So maybe you come visit me in Bloemfontein, then I will introduce you to this friend of mine. And then from there, y'all can talk about these yoga and meditation things that you are doing. So I went to Bloemfontein, I met this friend, and yeah, it was a Sunday love feast at this friend's home, because at his home, he has like a center, right? Krishna Consciousness Center. So that's where I first learned about Krishna consciousness. That's where I first tasted the first prasad, vegetarian cuisine that the Hare Krishnas so much delight to take. So I took this prasad and it tasted beautiful. It tasted like nectar. So I was like, okay, I love this prasad. And then I had class. Of course, before I took prasad, there was philosophic class, Vedic philosophic class. So what I liked about the class was that somebody gives class and everybody is just listening. No one is questioning, no one is commenting, no one is raising questions like this. You listen. And then after they give class, now you have a chance now to ask questions related to the class. What is it that you don't understand and whatnot? So I thought that was quite powerful. Because in my Christian background in the church, there's no such. You don't get to ask questions, why this, why that, Adam and Eve, all those stories. So I found it very nice. So I started joining them like this every Sunday now. I was going now to kind of like get my head around it. What is this Krishna consciousness? So it was in Bloemfontein that I met this nice devotee by the name of Tadba Dashan.
So which year was this, and how old were you at the time?
This was around 2016, right? 2016. So I think I was something maybe 26 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was something like that. 26 years, 27 years.
Okay. So you met the devotees, you went to a Sunday love feast, and so this was was a local devotee group? Was it run by ISKCON or another organization, or how did it work?
So yeah, it was a local devotee group. So this devotee is a disciple of one guru in ISKCON, but now he had left the temple. He used to live in the ashram as a brahmachari, celibate monk. So he left the ashram. Now he was back at home. So he wanted to continue practicing and involve others in the community. So basically he started this mini center where devotees would just come in the morning and do Mangalarti and basically read Srimad Bhagavatam class And then on the Sundays, they would have the Sunday Love Fest. So he was an ISKCON devotee, but now he was back at home practicing by himself.
Kind of independent from organizational oversight.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was 6 years ago. You then started chanting, did you? Started to kind of follow some of the principles, read Prabhupada's books. Did you kind of take to it straight away, or did it take time?
Yeah, it's funny because when I came, I was already sort of like practicing yoga and meditation, right? But now, when he started introducing me to Krishna consciousness, he gave me the Bhagavad Gita. So I went home, I read my Bhagavad Gita, and then I kind of like understood that, oh wow, this is sort of like the highest spiritual practice. You see, when you start to understand who Krishna is and what is our relationship to him, then you start off like, because you've been searching and then you had answers, but now you see that Krishna is answering he's giving you all the answers to all the questions that you had. So like this, I was in a predicament also when I met this devotee, because you see, as a musician in my hometown, I was making music and we were shooting music videos, and I was working with this star that was coming up in the music industry in South Africa. He was signed with the TS Records. So it's one of the popular music labels here in South Africa, right? So, but then because you know what happens, people will do their thing and then you end up not getting where you're supposed to get. So I was kind of like depressed. And also because in my hometown, I'm known to be a musician and everybody respects me and I'm famous like that, right? So it was beginning to become a small town. It was beginning to become very small for me, to live in that town. So now that I met Tatvadashan, I said, hey, how about I come and live with you? Or you can send me to one of the ISKCON temples and I can live there and practice with the followers there. So he sent me to Shishi Radhanath temple in Chatsworth in Durban. So I started living there and I started basically practicing with the devotees there. So that's how I ended up in ISKCON, because I lived in the ashram, in the brahmachari ashram there in ISKCON. So yeah, so because now you're living in ISKCON, you have to practice as the Romans do, So I have to do all the things that the brahmacharis were doing there: book distribution, prasadam distribution, harinams, singing and dancing, chanting the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, in the streets. And of course, taking all the austerities, waking up at 4:30 in the morning, going to the Mangalarti in the temple, performing all those rituals. So I started basically taking it very seriously when I was living in the temple now, experiencing this new chapter in my life.
Wow, that's very inspiring, actually. And how long did you live in the temple for?
I lived in the temple for something like 4 years, 5 years.
Wow. So you've only recently left, like a year or two ago.
Yeah. Yes.
So you were
Well, I didn't leave ISKCON. I didn't leave ISKCON. Prabhupada's ISKCON. You could say I left. I left the institution.
Yeah. So what was my question? My question was, you were a brahmachari wearing saffron.
Yes, not saffron. No, I wasn't wearing saffron. I was more of a brahmachari wearing white, like I'm wearing now.
So what kind of because I want to in a moment I want to kind of get on to talking a bit about your book and the details of your book. But what kind of encouraged you or made you think that you wanted to try and free yourself from the institution? What was going on that you felt uncomfortable with?
Well, there was a lot happening, which maybe one can say it's one's karma, maybe, but I felt like there was a lot of mistreatment of devotees based on their various situations, right? Krishna says people who come to him, they are either in distress, or they are seekers, or they are philosophers, or they are basically, like that, searching for the Lord, right? But and others want wealth, right? So you find in the temple there's different people coming to the temple, right? So I felt like being in a black body, right? Being in this black body that I'm in, I found a lot of unfair treatment based on it, right? And basically for me, that was it. And maybe here and there you find devotional care is not so emphasized and so championed, when you are living in the ashram. So many things I can point out that are there in my book, like how I came in ISKCON, and first week I was in the temple. They took us out on book distribution, right? It's a very nice thing to do for Srila Prabhupada to distribute his books. But I felt like we were not given enough time to read these books that we are meant to distribute. You get what I'm saying? Yes, you've explained to me what is Krishna consciousness and whatnot. But if I don't have enough time to read these books, at least give me some time to read the Bhagavad Gita, to get my head around it, so that by the time I go out and preach, I can defend the Bhagavad Gita. I know which verses I must quote. I know what Krishna consciousness is. I know who Krishna is, you see? So these things were there, whereby you find that you are being treated based on the body, whereas we know that we are not these bodies, we are spirit souls. But you find here and there, there's a bit of struggle and conflict, just basically because of the color of your skin, which I find is very insignificant.
Can I ask a question about that? Because if I'm honest, it's kind of surprised me a little bit, because you're in South Africa. In this life, you're South African. You've appeared as a South African black man.
Yes.
So tell me a bit about the community at ISKCON Durban. You're saying that you felt mistreated because you're a black person or black man.
Yes.
So who were the other devotees? They were Indian?
I feel I shouldn't say, I don't know if you like, but I feel I shouldn't say that this is the devotee who treated me this way, or whether this is his racial ethnicity. I feel I could say that even amongst African devotees, say for instance, you find that other devotees there, they are your seniors because you found them there, right? You found them there. So you get mistreated based on your platform, whether you are a Bhakta. So you find because you are a Bhakta, certain services are given to you that are good services, but they give you these menial services just because you are a Bhakta, right? So mostly you find there isn't too many black-bodied devotees in these temples, right? Okay, maybe as resident devotees, you find a lot of black-bodied devotees, but mostly the congregation is a lot of Indian congregation and some European congregation, and then some are black-bodied or African-bodied congregation members. But yeah, like this, you find that there's always that thing of, the hierarchy of seniority, and people based on how they perceive things, they say, okay, because you are a Bhakta and because you are black, well, then you can just do this and do that and not do that, right? So that was my situation in terms of that. But overall, how I was received when I first came, I must say that devotees in South Africa are very nice, because yes, you might be dealing with some devotees who are a bit disturbed, but there are still those devotees, Indian body devotees, European body devotees, that go an extra mile for you personally, like just having personal relationships with you. Because you might struggle even with the authorities, like your temple presidents and whatnot. Like, I'll tell you a story. Like, I even left Shishi Radharanath, right? I left Shishi Radharanath and I stayed somewhere in Durban with one devotee who had left the temple, right? And how I left that Shishi Radharanath at that time, it was a misunderstanding, right? I had problems with my feet, right? From coming back home and all that, and whatever endeavors I was in back home that basically made my feet hurt. So I had feet problem. And so now you find that when you get in ISKCON, sometimes you find that you are meant to dance and sing, right? You are meant to dance ecstatically and sing ecstatically. And because maybe you are this person who has no other option but to be in the temple. Like I told you how I left my hometown. I felt like I was getting claustrophobic living in that small town where everybody expects you to have blown up as an artist in South Africa, right? So now I'm in this ISKCON temple, and now I see the traditions, I see the culture that everybody's happy, everybody's dancing and whatnot. So I start joining in. So it becomes a norm that now I'm dancing with these devotees during kirtans in the temple or in the streets, but now my feet are hurting, right? My feet are hurting. So I'm telling my temple presidents that, yeah, my feet is hurting and whatnot and whatnot. So can something be done? Well, something is done, yes, but now there's still this, I don't know, subtle pushing that we're supposed to act like this when we are temple resident devotees, right? We're supposed to sort of like show how happy we are to these devotees that come as congregation members during Sunday love feast and whatnot, so that somehow, I don't know, maybe if we show that we are happy, then people will think that to be Krishna conscious, you must dance and be happy and smile all the time, right? So I had some issues with the management about certain things like that, and of course the racism that was there, you know, how devotees were treating us. So they didn't understand me, right? So I decided, okay, let me leave. I'm gonna leave the temple because y'all are not giving me time to read. You get what I'm saying? Y'all are not giving us. Sometimes we don't have the proper toiletries, all these things that devotee care in terms of like devotees living in the temple must have, right? So I decided, okay, I'm gonna leave the temple. So I started living with this Prabhu there in Wabidaj and whatnot. So yeah, so like
if I mean, I could say something that might make you feel better. It might not make you feel better, but I, as a white man living in the UK, have experienced racism as well in ISKCON settings. You know, I'm not going to say the name of the temple, but it's quite obvious. But there is one big temple in the UK which has got a very large Indian community. And I, as a white man, despite living in England, you know, a predominantly white country, I have experienced racism in ISKCON. And I'll give you one of a number of examples at this temple. I remember one year, so it's Julan Yatra. Everyone's queuing up to swing Radha Krishna on the swing. So we're all queuing up, and I can see this big queue, and all the Indians in the queue were given 3 swings. And I was watching this. I should have filmed it. And the white people in the queue had 1 swing. Were allowed to swing once. And I remember I was also in the queue, and I remember just feeling very sad and feeling that, I mean, it didn't really bother me whether I swang Lord Krishna once or 3 or 10. It was the fact that because of the color of my skin, despite being initiated, I've gone through that formal initiation process in ISKCON, I was still discriminated against. And I've been going on and off to this particular ISKCON temple for 20 years. And there are a number of people from the Indian community that have been going for 20 years, and they still don't talk to me. And so I don't know if that makes you feel better. It might make you feel worse.
Yeah, it does.
But it happens, unfortunately, everywhere. And it's horrible. And it's definitely not what Prabhupada wanted. The central teaching of this philosophy that we follow is that we're not the body.
Yes.
The bit that Krishna is God is slightly second, the next bit you learn, or the bit after that. But the first you have to understand who we are. We are eternal spiritual beings we're not this body. Yet, despite you see so much discrimination in ISKCON and other Gaudiya groups based on someone's physical conditioning, which is a crime spiritually and racially in every way.
It's irrelevant, isn't it? Because
yes,
also that's based also on personal advancement. You know, like I said, there are very awesome, very nice devotees who have gained spiritual advancement, and somehow they can distinguish, you know, between that. You know, now that we are in ISKCON, we are spirit souls, and we have started this auspicious journey back home. Therefore, like this, we should be treating each other with kindness and empathy, right? But now it is said also that there is the Kanishta devotee, there's the Uttama, and there's the Madhyam, right? So we shouldn't, like it is said, like you can't blame the Buddha based on the Buddhist. Don't judge the Buddha based on the Buddhist, right? So we can't just say, okay, Prabhupada started this movement, now his Indians are treating us like this. You know, we can't say they are treating us like this and Prabhupada brought this, now we are experiencing racism. Everybody has their level of advancement. It's like the Kanishtas. They come to the temple and all they want to do is worship the deities, right? They don't see the devotees in the temple. They just want to worship the deities and get out. And then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh, the reason why you're not treating me is because I'm black. You know, I can also be wrapped up in my own false ego as well, thinking I am black and this is why they are not treating me, but not understanding the development, the level of development in terms of their spiritual consciousness, how these people are treating themselves and viewing themselves and treating others as well. So I shouldn't be I shouldn't be too much into my blackness as well. You get what I'm saying? Or my whiteness as well, because that means, okay, I think I'm important, I should be seen and I should be treated like this. So humility and tolerance is basically the foundation of becoming a devotee. So we are not looking to be respected and all, but there should be standards. Right? There should be standard procedures that every devotee in ISKCON is supposed to follow. And there should be measures now. If something like this happens, it's not that I'm just crying because I can't take the austerity or I can't take my karma. But if it's stifling my devotional service, that I cannot interact nicely with devotees just because I look like this, then it's questionable. It's questionable. You know, why is this thing happening? Why is this thing happening? Which is why now you want to dive into the history now, because you're seeing that, okay, this is the front, right? In the beginning, devotees give you smiles. In the beginning, devotees give you nice treatment. But after some time, they lose that touch. They don't continue with that treatment that is nice. After some time, it's like they take devotees for granted. And now you're like, okay, I'm left here by myself. So now you want to understand, where did this thing come from that certain devotees are better than other devotees based on their bodily features, you see? So now in my book somewhere, I kind of like understand certain things that Prabhupada was trying to explain. And then I discovered that, these things are there, that if you are born in India, you are sort of like, you are better off born in India, because India is very Vedically oriented, right? It has culture, devotee culture. And if you are born in India, it's easy for you to pick up Krishna consciousness than anywhere in the world. So it's a boon to be born in India. But it doesn't make anyone who is born outside of India any less important to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, does it?
Absolutely not. That leads us nicely onto your book, actually. I want to ask you some questions about your book. I am genuinely looking forward to reading it. It looks like it's a fascinating read. And I think you've probably touched on this already in some of the things we've already spoke about over the last half an hour. But you've called your book The Honest Truths of a Black Hare Krishna Monk from South Africa. So those honest things are about your experiences, are there, in terms of what you've experienced in the Hare Krishna movement.
Yeah.
Because some of the topics that you discuss in here, I'm looking at the contents, are very broad. I mean, this is like a massive encyclopedia, this book, where you've talked about your Krishna consciousness, but you've also talked about adopted Black religions, the tribes of Israel, the stolen identity of Black historical figures. What else caught my eye? Fight cult club mentality in human society. It's I mean, you've literally touched on most topics in existence, but what I'll just name one more. Zombie parents raise zombie kids. I mean, you've really touched on everything. You really just sat down and everything came out, didn't it? You've kind of poured out all your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings in 260 pages.
Yeah, it's been my research. Like I said, right? I've been researching it all my life. Like, for instance, you speak of the Black Israelites. You know, we can talk about that as well. How the Christian, as much as we don't criticize the Christian institution, but how the Christian institution is right now, you find that everything has been whitewashed, right? The patriarchs are white, the prophets are white. But when you really go down in history and really research this, you find that Jesus Christ was not necessarily like a white Jew. He was a Jew, but he wasn't, his complexion was not light-skinned type Jew, right? He was more black-bodied type Jew, right? Even you look at you look at Krishna. Okay, of course, Krishna's blackness is spiritual black, and it's out of this world. We can't even describe how Krishna's blackness is like, right? Because he looks like a cloud heavy laden with rain. But to see that there's some darkishness there, then there's something there, right? When you look at Arjuna, when you read the Mahabharata, that Arjuna is described as also of a black complexion. You look at Vyasadeva, you look at Draupadi, you almost look at all these pioneering key figures in the Vedic literatures, and you see that most of the exalted, most great personalities, they do have this black complexion complex, right? But we don't see them discriminating anyone. You don't see them getting puffed up over the color of their skin. And it's easy also to say the demons are black. It's easy also to say the angels are white and Jesus is white and Muhammad is white and everything is white. And psychologically, if somebody comes to a spiritual practice, that psychology makes them feel of an inferior nature. So they find that they can't relate very nicely because it seems like, oh, so now everything white is right, you know, and everything black is dark. So you want to bring people to a platform where they can also appreciate themselves. They can see that they have self-value. It doesn't mean because you...
Oh, you've just gone on mute. You've put yourself on mute for some reason. Can you hear me? That's it. For some reason, you went on mute. But you're back now. Yeah. I heard we got most of what you said. I was just taking some notes because I find it interesting. And I saw that there was a little section in your book called The Stolen Identity of Black Historical Figures. The thing, just something that sprang to mind for me was my degree is in comparative religion, and I've shopped around over the years, and I've read lots, and I've met lots of people, and the Mormons are a very good example of this is a personal view. The Mormons are a very good example of a Christian group who, you know, historically have prioritized the white race. So, for example, the Mormons have this very interesting theological view that after Jesus rose from the dead, he went to America. And there's a big white statue of Jesus now in Utah, in the headquarters of the Mormon Church. And if you read the Book of Mormon, it does say at the beginning that Jesus is white. So that's an example, I guess, of that kind of prioritizing the white race and intertwingling it with a religious tradition. But yeah, really interesting. And yes, I've always been of the view that Jesus wasn't white, definitely wasn't white. He was from, I think, modern day Palestine, or that kind of area.
From those lands,
you know, more of a browner complexion. Can we talk a bit about your name, Jagannath Das, and I'm just kind of reading some of the stuff on the back of your book, and some of the stuff that you've told me already is kind of who gave you your name, or was that a name you gave yourself? And let's talk a bit about the link that you have with Srila Prabhupada. Can we touch on that a little bit?
Okay. So so now I came to Krishna Consciousness, got the books, started reading Srila Prabhupada's books, right? And then after some time, I applied for initiation, because there's certain procedures for you to get initiated. You must first in ISKCON, that is, and actually ISKCON has got, you could say ISKCON has got two camps. You have the camp that is strictly following Prabhupada's instructions, especially those instructions that are in his books and letters, authorized letters with Prabhupada's signatures and all. And then you got another ISKCON that is being run by the GBC, the current GBC ISKCON, where now if you want to get initiated, you must ask your temple president, now I feel I'm ready to get initiated by so-and-so guru in ISKCON, right? Because there's so many gurus in ISKCON, right? But we know that the founder Acharya is Srila Prabhupada, who is actually the Diksha guru in ISKCON, right? As much as you have all these other Diksha gurus in ISKCON, you have Prabhupada as the initial Diksha guru, the one who initiates you. So who initiates us? Prabhupada initiates us through his books, right? By just reading Prabhupada's books, which are original books. Because now there's a tendency now to change every religious tradition. Every religion, somehow it gets these infiltrating forces that want to change the books, and now you don't get the message as it is. Now it's like a broken telephone syndrome. Now you don't know what is really the clarity here. So now I read Prabhupada's books, and then I asked my temple president, because these are the steps that you must follow. That I want to get initiated by this guru. I won't mention his name also, just for, because I'm not trying to mention anyone's name in a very ungood way, in a very not good way, So he initiated me, and then he gave me the name Jagannath Das. So I guess because I'm Jacob, right? I'm Jacob like that. So the closest name they could give me, maybe also because I smile a lot, because Lord Jagannath is the Lord of the universe, and his form is the form where he is of black complexion and he's smiling, because he's in this ecstatic mood. When he sees his devotees, he becomes ecstatic in such a way that he smiles like that. So maybe my Guru Maharaj saw that I smile a lot, and I love smiling and being friendly and like that. I'm black complexioned, and my name is Jacob. So maybe that's why, or maybe that's just Krishna giving me that name through my Guru Maharaj. I don't know. Or my Guru Maharaj at that time when he initiated me. So he initiated me like this, and I liked him, and I wanted to become his disciple, and I was ready to surrender to him as a representative of Srila Prabhupada, or of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then later on, and I did ask my Guru Maharaj, before I asked him to initiate me, that I see that there's this other angle in ISKCON, or camp in ISKCON, that is called the ritvik camp, right? Or the ritviks, right? And I asked him like that, so who are these people, and what is their connection to ISKCON? Okay, so he gave me his answers. These people are like this, are like that. They don't really follow Prabhupada's instructions. They are envious of the gurus that are now initiating in ISKCON, or the gurus that Prabhupada chose to become initiating gurus in ISKCON like this. But then I found a book by Krishna Consciousness where he was explaining what is the ritviksm, or who are the ritviks and what is their connection to Prabhupada. And then that's where I learned that in July 9, in 1977, right, July 9, Prabhupada wrote a letter where he was choosing his official representatives. You could say these are ritviks, official priests who will represent Prabhupada in terms of like who must get initiated in ISKCON. So they will basically perform the initiation, and whoever is being initiated is actually being initiated by Prabhupada through these ritvik representatives who are just official priests for the formal ceremony of initiating this disciple who will become Prabhupada's disciple, just like them, right? So Prabhupada had chosen these 11 and like this, and then the history unfolds like this until now there was like a wholesale now who can become guru. Anyone can just become guru if they are voted for in ISKCON by the GBC, right? But they are not the Diksha gurus, because Prabhupada never said, you become my next successor, you become the next guru. Prabhupada simply said, as you were doing, continue doing it henceforward. Continue being my representatives, initiating disciples on my behalf, because I am the one who's giving initiation through my Vani. So the only thing, the ceremonies are just a formality, but I'm the one who's giving you transcendental knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So no one except Prabhupada is giving transcendental knowledge of Krishna consciousness in ISKCON. They might be giving knowledge, anyone can give knowledge of Krishna consciousness anywhere, in any institution, Gaudiya Math, whatever. But in ISKCON, the only initiating guru is Srila Prabhupada. Just like in Christianity, the only initiating guru is Jesus Christ. You go to your Islam, the only initiating guru there is Muhammad. So like this, Prabhupada was trying to protect the institution of ISKCON from anyone coming and abusing their rights as gurus against the people in ISKCON or even outside ISKCON. So like this, I understand from that letter that Prabhupada signed that letter and said, okay, you, the 11, become my representatives. Don't initiate on your own behalf, initiate on my behalf. But when you go through the history of ISKCON, you see that that was contradicted. That was contradicted. Some people now claimed to be as good as Srila Prabhupada. They claimed to be giving initiation. They claimed to be able to take the spirit souls who are surrendered to Lord Krishna back to Goloka, back to the spiritual world. But are they really confidential servants of the Lord? Are they really Mahabhagavats? You know, are they really Diksha Gurus? Are they really the ones who are giving us Diksha? That we must question in ISKCON.
I'm just digesting some of the information that you've given me. So in terms of those 11 representatives, so I've also read the July the 9th, 1977 letter. In fact, I wrote about it in my book.
Oh, wow.
I
can't wait to read your book. Yeah, I'm going to read your book.
I think I'm going to send you a copy. In fact, I dedicated a few pages to the ritvik order.
Oh, wow.
When maybe it was a couple of pages, at least 2. When I researched for the book initially was about looking at all the different mats in the UK. And for me, it's important to be as fair as possible. I believe in fairness, you know, in lots of ways. Yeah. And I thought that I have to write about groups in this book that other people might not agree with. So I also wrote about lots of different Gaudiya groups. And for me, the only guidelines is they have to be in the UK. Otherwise, I wouldn't have time to do all the different groups in the world. And in my research, I identified, at the time of writing, 3 groups in the UK that followed the ritvik order. There is actually now a fourth, which I won't mention necessarily, but there is three Gaudiya groups, Hare Krishna groups in London that follow the ritvik order. So, and I did interview a number of devotees that follow the ritvik order of the book, and I find it as a huge learning curve for me. It was fascinating.
Yes.
I think it's so important to listen, just to listen to people and listen and hear people's views. I've gained some friends actually that are followers of the ritvik order. At the lowest common denominator, I'm getting a bit political now. At the lowest common denominator, and on a political level, I recognise that we're living in the UK anyway. We're living in a democracy. Yes. We're living in a free country, and people are entitled to believe what they want, to follow what they want. It's not my job to tell people how to live their lives or what to believe. You know, I've gone through experiences in my life when people have told me what to believe and who is God right and who is wrong and who is God and who's not God. Well, I don't do that with other people.
You don't impose. Yeah, so, you don't impose.
Yeah, I don't impose. That's the word. I don't impose. So I've read the July the 9th, 1977 letter. I've written about it, and I've found it fascinating. And you can pick up certain things when you're talking to people. And when you messaged me a few weeks ago and said that you were a follower of Srila Prabhupada, I knew what that, or a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, I knew what that meant for you.
Yes.
I'm using semantics now, because obviously in the ISKCON way now, it's impossible. A lot of people would have the view it's impossible to be a Diksha disciple of Prabhupada because he's not physically present. So when a devotee says to me they're a Diksha disciple of Prabhupada and that they're under the age of 62, I think, well,
right.
You have to work out their age. Right. You know, they're too young, you know, biologically. And I think what I think one of the issues, just to kind of speak on this, I'm trying to sit on the fence as much as possible.
Okay.
There was a joke about a politician about 15 years ago. I won't say his name, and they said the joke was, "Why has he got splinters up his bottom?" Because he spends so much time sitting on the fence. But this was, I won't say the name of the politician. He's passed away now. But what was I going? I can't remember what I was going to say now, but it was something along the lines of. I think one of the issues now. One of the issues now why a lot of people in ISKCON have this frustration and anger with followers of the ritvik order is about the politics of the 1980s around the ISKCON revival movement. And when you talk to a lot of devotees, I talk to devotees in ISKCON now that follow the guru system. When I talk about the ritvik order, they immediately say the IRM, the ISKCON revival movement. They tried to take this property. They tried to do that. And I get that, even though it was 40 years ago, I get it. But what about these other Hare Krishna groups that follow the ritvik order as well? So I've tried to open their mind to different ways of seeing things. And the other thing, I'm trying to be objective, and I'm also a bit of a sociologist. My book's really about the sociology of religion. One of the things I'm not intrigued about, but I'm watching from a distance, as right now in ISKCON, you're seeing this whole Me Too movement. All of these gurus are all of a sudden pedophiles in ISKCON, you know, and it's terrible. It's terrible. And I'm not going to say the name of the group, but I'm in one Hare Krishna Facebook group, which is growing massively, and it's full of people who are angry and frustrated with all of these gurus in ISKCON. Not all of them, sorry, but a number of them have been pedophiles, and now it's all coming out. It's all coming out, and that's fantastic. And I think what we're going to see is a reaction. We're going to see people turning to the ritvik order.
Yes,
because they're disillusioned with the gurus, and they think, let's just go to Prabhupada and follow Prabhupada.
Back to Prabhupada.
And that's what happened. That's what happened in the 80s. All these gurus like Jaitirtha and Bhagavan were falling, and so people turned to the ritvik order, or that particular understanding of it. I'm trying not. I'm trying not to use the word interpretation, because when I interviewed someone for my book a couple of years ago, I said to her, "Yes, but that's your interpretation." And she said, no, it's not my interpretation. It's what Prabhupada said. So I'm trying not to use certain words I think all I'll say is I've read the letter, and there could be two ways to interpret it. Could be. Yeah. I'm trying to be fair here.
But if we take it literally, you'd see that there is really no other way to interpret it. Henceforward simply means henceforward. And of course, like you have devotees who say, but you need a living guru, right? But how true is that? If you need a living guru to get initiated, then it doesn't add up, because if you need the physical presence, let's not talk about a living guru, because guru means he's always living. Guru means he's eternal. There's never a time when guru is dead, right? They can appear and disappear, but guru is always in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the heart even, because guru is the expansion, isn't it, of the Chaita Guru in the heart. We already have the guru in our heart. But because we cannot somehow understand the guru in the heart, because we are not in a good mental position to understand the guru in the heart, then if we are sincere like that, then the guru manifests. You know, he manifests into our reality. Therefore, we can identify him also externally. But that is just an expansion of the guru from the heart. So Prabhupada is not dead. Prabhupada is always with us, because Prabhupada is now in our hearts with the super soul, with the super soul's entourage. He's one of the super soul's entourage, confidential associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the heart, and also in Goloka, or the spiritual world like that. So he's always present, and more so because he's present in his books. There's no difference between Prabhupada and what he said in his books. So the only thing that one needs is the Vani in the book to get initiated. And everything else is just formality for you to hold yourself in position for your vows that you have given to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada is there in the temples, isn't it? Prabhupada is there in the temple in his form as the Murti in the temple. So those 11 ritviks were supposed to perform initiation on behalf of Srila Prabhupada as he is there. As every morning we give Guru Puja to Prabhupada. Why would you give Guru Puja to someone who is dead? If he's dead, then remove Prabhupada's Murti.
That's very true.
Remove his Murti from the temple. Stop worshipping a dead person in the temple and using him as a prop for your own advancement economically. Take him out of the temple because he's not there, and put your gurus in the temple. Stop using him in his books by changing his books and saying Prabhupada said this and Prabhupada said that. Prabhupada didn't say that. So keep it original. Prabhupada is still here with us. He's a living guru. For instance, okay, so now if you need a living guru all the time, why then did Prabhupada initiate devotees when he was maybe in the America? He could initiate some devotee in the UK without even having met that devotee. Then we can nullify that, we can render it void that this happened, right? And also these devotees that say, yeah, you need a living guru. What is going to happen when your Guru Maharaj pass away? You say we need an intimacy, we need that physical association with the guru, but then what's going to happen when your Guru Maharaj disappears? Yeah. Are you going to take another guru?
So I agree with you on that, definitely. And I know a number of devotees that always feel the need to have a living guru. And
no. Wait. Before you go anywhere,
physically, as in physically present. I know a number of devotees that feel they need to have a guru that's physically present all the time.
Can I say something? Prabhupada is a representative of the Parampara system, right? The Parampara, all the gurus that came before him that preached the same message, right? All the way from Srila, all the way from Krishna, right? So he's a representative of the Parampara, right? So now we say we need like a living guru. A representative is exactly like that. A minister and the president are non-different for as long as the minister is representing the president, isn't it? So Prabhupada being the minister and Krishna being the president, there's no difference between Prabhupada and the president, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So now Prabhupada made them his representatives. The ritvik order is for the disciples of Prabhupada that he has chosen to be the representatives of Srila Prabhupada, right? So in that sense, you still have Prabhupada present with you through them. Through them. For as long as they follow Prabhupada's instructions and they are bona fide in their practices, you still have the gurus there with you. He's a living guru because he's representing Prabhupada, right? Bhagavan, he's a living guru because he's representing Prabhupada. If he was representing Prabhupada, then you would still have the living guru with you in the form of Bhagavan as a representative of Prabhupada. So there's no lack. There's no saying you need a specific Diksha guru. You can have Siksha gurus that are there taking orders from Prabhupada, how Prabhupada wanted the movement to run. Therefore, they are there to give their association, live association, living association, physical association, giving you instructions as Prabhupada wanted. Okay, you do like this because this is what Prabhupada wanted. So there's no lack of Srila Prabhupada. There's no such thing. It's not possible that Prabhupada is now gone. You take initiation from somebody else. Now, that's why now we are experiencing what we are experiencing in ISKCON right now, because every Tom and Harry can just come and say, I can spin a slow car, I can wear sannyas robe, I can basically preach, therefore I'm a guru, come and get initiated, give me your diksha, give me everything, let me live lavishly while I molest these kids and whatnot.
I did a podcast about this is episode 48. I did a podcast, I think episode 20 or 25, with a devotee called Radhika. Radhika also follows the ritvik order. She lives in London, and her and other devotees, they run a small group in London called Hare Krishna London, and they follow. Yeah, and what I think was great in the podcast is for our conversation, I came up with some other examples in history and also in present times of how the ritvik order is followed. I think a lot of people in ISKCON have this anger or frustration with followers of the ritvik order, but they don't really understand, or they might not understand, that it's actually followed by a lot of people in different ways. And I was able to give different examples of how different mats will follow the ritvik order, which I don't think I'll go into now because we're not particularly necessarily talking about that. Okay. I think the only thing I would say from a kind of not good to use this term at Christmas, a kind of devil's advocate point of view, was that obviously Prabhupada appointed those 11 representatives or gurus or teachers to initiate for him. What then happens when those 11 die or no longer left? What happens after that?
Then amongst the managers, amongst the whole disciples of Prabhupada, then there must be someone qualified that can be basically voted in by those who are still remaining, if they are following Prabhupada standards, right? Because the GBC is there to manage, right? So the GBC is there to check who's following, who's a Paka devotee who's following like this. Because you are not selected there to become a Diksha guru. You are selected there to become a Siksha guru, right? Who can initiate on behalf of Prabhupada. So it's the authorities within ISKCON, the right GBC within ISKCON that is supposed to check who's there who can replace this one. So like that, there'll always be new generation of gurus who are Siksha gurus who will initiate on behalf of Prabhupada according to their qualification, right? So we are there to be watchdogs. Those Siksha gurus are there to be watchdogs and keep everyone in the standards of Srila Prabhupada, so that when there's a time to elect another one who can replace this one, there's someone there to qualify to take their position. You get what I'm saying, right? So that's how it works. It's not that now those 11 were the last. It's not that they were the last. There will always be new disciples of Srila Prabhupada like this. So why would Prabhupada say for 10,000 years, if Prabhupada had chosen those 11 to be the only gurus in ISKCON, Why would then he say 10,000 years? Because we'll all be gone after 10,000 years. If Prabhupada is not going to be able to perform initiation for the next 10,000 years, then are we saying ISKCON is going to end with us? ISKCON can't end with us. Therefore, there'll be no more disciples of Prabhupada as time goes. Isn't it?
Yeah, you know,
So
I actually only, yeah, I mean, okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I think one of the challenges that ISKCON's had over the last 45 years is that it operates in a very different way from other mats. In the traditional Gaudiya system, which actually isn't that old, there would always be a living acharya. After one acharya physically died, there'd be another acharya and another acharya. If you look at the Prabhupada's godbrothers and the mats that they set up, there's other acharyas. I mean, an example would be the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat mat founded by Srila Sridhar Maharaj in 1941. I used to know all the dates. There's always a living acharya. So other mats don't seem to have this problem with succession or interpretation, because they just go for this traditional system of always having a living acharya, and the buck stops with him and maybe her. There's one mat that follows her, which is great. I'm into all of that. I think one of the issues for ISKCON is socially, because Prabhupada set up a radically different system with the creation of a GBC, which other mats don't have. You know, a governing body. So I'm trying as much as possible to be objective in this conversation, but I love what you do, and I've got a lot of friends that follow the ritvik order. You know, they're distributing prasadam, they're chanting Hare Krishna, they're reading Srila Prabhupada books, and that's what's important, I would argue, you know, and there are examples today in ISKCON, in that institutional setting, of you might disagree with this term, ritvik ceremonies. They do happen in ISKCON, they're just not talked about. You know, I heard about one the other day. One guru couldn't make it to a certain city, so another guru initiated on his behalf. You know, so it kind of does happen in ISKCON. It's just not talked about often. Going off on a bit of a tangent, I know this podcast is not about this. There was a lady in England called Daisy Botel. She was quite famous. She converted to the Hare Krishnas in the 1930s, and she donated when she died in 1981. She donated her house in London to the Gaudiya Mission UK, which is a different mat, not ISKCON, in the UK. Yeah, there's lots of mats in England. There's a whole Gaudiya family. I wish they were better at being a family. Anyway, there was always controversy around whether she was she claimed that the official view is she was a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He sent, you know, so he sent disciples to London in the 1930s to spread Krishna consciousness, and they did a good job. Actually, I've got a chapter about it in my book. I'm going to send you my book. I'm going to send you a free signed copy. Thank you. Sorry, that's my ego coming through. So anyway, there is the official view that she was a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but then when you look through the historical documents and the historical letters, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left the planet on the 1st of January 1937, I think.
Yes.
But in April of the same year, she was still Daisy Botel. She still wasn't Vinod Vani Devi Dasi.
Yes.
So in one sense, you think, well, hang on a minute. How could she be a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Yeah, and then I read one book written by Bhaktivinoda Swami, who's a guru in ISKCON, and he put forth this view that actually she might not have been, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wasn't physically present on Earth.
Yes.
So anyway, in my book,
but look at it.
Yeah, in my book, I've come to the conclusion that the ceremony was carried out by somebody else, but actually, and it was probably, my goodness, Goswami Maharaj probably carried out the ceremony. He was in London in 1937, but actually it was a ritvik ceremony. Because,
but my question,
go ahead.
So my question would be, you see, the difference between that and us is that did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj ask anyone to initiate on his behalf? Did he
You
ask?
see, that's the point. I don't think he did. That's the
I don't think he did.
that's the issue. He didn't. He didn't.
He didn't. Yes, he didn't. Now you say to me, well, a question could pop up that, but you are so young. How can you be a disciple of Prabhupada? You never met. You never met Prabhupada. You don't know Prabhupada, and you're so young. How can you be a disciple of Prabhupada? It is in writing. It is in writing. I came to ISKCON looking for Prabhupada, and then I found Prabhupada. I was looking for a bona fide spiritual master. Then I found Prabhupada, and then it is in writing that Prabhupada says, whoever comes to ISKCON seeking for a guru to initiate him, you initiate on my behalf, then he becomes my guru. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't have to meet Prabhupada to be his disciple. I'm Prabhupada's disciple by virtue of trying to follow the four regs, trying to do what Prabhupada asked me to do. Wake up early in the morning, do the Mangalarti, distribute my books, live like this in a Vedic way, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. Try to live this way. And like this, therefore, you are my disciple. Chant 16 rounds, therefore, like this, you are my disciple. You see, so we are Prabhupada's disciple by virtue of following Prabhupada's instructions. So that faith is there, that because I'm following Prabhupada's instructions, I will go back home, back to Srila Prabhupada. I will go back home, back to Godhead. You see what we see what's the difference. There's nowhere where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, oh, after I disappear, now you can initiate on my behalf. He simply asked the Gaudiya Math, cooperate nicely, start a GBC, start a GBC, cooperate nicely, push on the movement, push forward the movement. But if there is any acharya amongst you, he shall be self-effulgent. He will be self-effulgent, right? Guru, Diksha Guru, he leads by example. Right, he leads by example. That's how you see how effulgent he is. So we see the Prabhupada became self-effulgent. He was a Kriyasta. He was not even a sannyas. He was a Kriyasta. He took sannyas later. Then he went to the West. Then he started this movement. Then he says, everyone who comes to my movement, to my ISKCON, he's my disciple. But unfortunately, some disciples got disturbed by their false ego, by their hankering after material positions like this. Oh, I am a guru. No, you are not a guru. You are a disciple of Prabhupada who's supposed to be his Siksha guru. His ritvik representative, and therefore his official priest like this, until maybe someone is self-effulgent and starts some movement outside of ISKCON. Then they can go there, then whoever is interested, they can go there and take initiation from that guru who's self-effulgent outside of ISKCON, claiming to be in the Brahma line of our Sampradaya. Then anyone can gladly go there and take initiation. But in ISKCON, the only acharya, founder acharya and Diksha guru, initiating guru is Srila Prabhupada by that letter, July 9, 1977, where he made it official now that, okay, continue now initiating on my behalf, as you were doing. It's nothing new. It's not that Prabhupada started something that they were not doing throughout this whole time. They were still doing. So Prabhupada said, continue doing like this, continue becoming my ritvik representatives, initiating disciples on my behalf, and therefore this movement will continue. But soon as you deviate, oh, now we'll see falling gurus left, right, and center, pedophiles left, right, and center.
Can I ask you a question about the guru, if we can use that word, the guru that you did receive initiation from in ISKCON? What kind of relationship do you have with him now?
Well, now because I had to renounce him, I had to, I renounced him nicely because I love him. I respect him. It's not that I have anything against him personally, right? I don't have anything against him personally. I'd still take his class as long as he sees that he's my Siksha guru, not my Diksha guru. Because I was initiated first by Prabhupada through reading Prabhupada's books. That's how I got the understanding that Krishna is a God, and therefore he's the God, and therefore he's the supreme God. Therefore, we are his parts and parcels. My so-called Guru Maharaj at that time did not tell me these things from the beginning. I got this knowledge. He who gave me the torchlight of knowledge was Srila Prabhupada. So why would I betray Prabhupada by taking a second? Why would I take a second husband? You know what I'm saying? I'm married to Prabhupada. Why will now take another second husband who is lesser than Prabhupada? Because for me, Prabhupada is the Jagat Guru. There's no other Prabhupada. There's only Srila Prabhupada for me, right? From having understood his books, I felt I'm faithful to this Guru. I will follow him wherever he takes me, right? So now you come and you say, now you are my Diksha Guru, but you did not initiate me. You did not give me the Tattva. Prabhupada gave me the Tattva. So therefore, I'm loyal disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So my Guru Maharaj, because I blew the whistle, and then I made him aware that, listen, I know what's going on. I know what the ritviks are. And I asked you, but you didn't give me a direct answer that is satisfactory. So therefore, because I was blind and ignorant, I chose you because I love your qualities. I love your character. I thought you was the guru I was looking for because of how you spoke like this and because of how y'all made us feel like y'all are the gurus. Although I didn't say it like that to him, like how I'm talking to you right now, I sent him a letter, right? So I told him, now I cannot participate in being your disciple because I'm actually Prabhupada's disciple, but I am your Siksha disciple. I can take instructions from you as long as they are coming from Prabhupada, and I can verify them by reading Prabhupada's books. You get what I'm saying? So like that, my relationship with him ended there. Because then I got trouble in ISKCON because of this. Then I had to leave ISKCON now, go back home because now I'm a ritvik, you see. It's amazing. I don't think ISKCON should be throwing devotees out just because devotees are making sense. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely agree that ISKCON shouldn't be throwing devotees out and pushing devotees to. It takes so long. It takes so long to make a devotee. Most of the world do not practice Gaudiya Vaishnavism or Krishna Consciousness or Bhakti Yoga, and sometimes authorities in ISKCON and other mats are so quick to throw people away, it then takes another 20 years to make one devotee. It's very sad. I definitely agree with you on that. I'm happy to chat for longer. I'm conscious of the time though, and I'm also conscious that you're in a place where the electricity power supply goes off in just over 30 minutes. You do have your mridanga with you.
Yes.
Do you want to chant for a bit? Do you want to
go get the katals? Yes, we can chant.
Maybe just for 5 minutes, which is because Kirtan is a very unifying thing.
Yes, definitely.
And while your friend is collecting the kartals, in my head, I'm trying to develop something called Hare Krishna postmodernism, which means there's multiple truths. But I'm not getting very far with it. I'm not getting very far with it because it doesn't really fit into Krishna consciousness. Not really, not theologically, because I want everyone to be right and correct, but that's not possible if there's one absolute supreme truth. So I'm not going very far with Hare Krishna postmodernism.
But look at this, right? I tell you, like, why is my book called Honest Truths? There's only one absolute truth, right? Yes. There's only one absolute truth, right? And that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. That God is a person. He's a personality. He possesses 6 opulences like this that are just beyond any living entity they cannot have. So we do understand that there's the absolute truth, but there are also relative truths, right? That's why I said honest truths. So in that truths, there's also the absolute truth feature that I basically unravel and basically talk about. But I also talk about all these other relative truths that are there, that if you kind of like become open-minded and broad-minded, you will see that they do matter as well, right? They do matter as well. It's not that the Christians are lost. It's not that the Muslims or the Islams the Islamic religion is lost. It's not that Africanism is lost. It's not that, it's just that those are relative truths. It's like God appears to different people according to time, place, and circumstance, right? In different forms, right? You can't render those forms void. You have to accept that God appeared at this time for a certain reason, specifically to a certain people, but that is a form of God. That is an incarnation of God. But so therefore, that is almost like a relative truth in a sense. But then when you're looking for the absolute truth, now here is Krishna for you. So I want to advise you not to tackle the post-mortem, but the what you call posthumous book like that. I wouldn't discourage you, but because it's gonna give you the angles and the dots. It's like we are looking at the same mountain, which is absolute, but we are looking at it from different angles. So therefore, one will tell you, oh, from where I'm standing, this is what I see. From where I'm standing, this is what I see. But when we look at it through a panoramic view, then we will be able to see that, we've been looking at the same thing. But what you were seeing is the leg. I was seeing the arm, and you were seeing the nose, and like that, you see. And then when we come together as a people from all different religious denominations, still we can see qualities of God in all religious institutions or spiritual practices, right? Isn't that right?
I really love your enthusiasm. It's very infectious. I'm feeling it despite being thousands of miles away on Zoom. You're very enthusiastic, Jagannath. It's wonderful. Does your friend have the cartels?
Yes, he's here also with me.
What's his name? What's his name?
His name is Bhima Prabhu.
Bhima. Bhima's a wonderful name.
Yeah.
Let's say hello to Bhima. He's a bit shy.
Krishna.
Hey, Hare Krishna, Bhima. How are you? Nice to see you. Yeah, nice to see you, Bhima.
Me and Jagannath were actually, we stayed in the temple together. So we've maintained our relationship ever since. You know, we were actually roommates. We shared a room in the temple. So we developed our relationship and our friendship since then. And yeah, Prabhupada has kept us together ever since, because we've been serving together for about a decade now.
Wow.
Less than a decade, 8 years, me and Jagannath. So yeah, it's all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm grateful to have my brother's association. And I'm sure he's grateful to have me as well.
Yeah, even though we left ISKCON, some of us got thrown out, still we continue with the Yuga Dharma, the spiritual practice of this age, which is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And our aspirations really is to meet devotees who think like us. We want to meet devotees who are ritvik devotees, who are following the ritvik order of Prabhupada. We want to meet them around the world and somehow take their association, take the lotus dust on their feet, and really honor them for not having sold out. You get what I'm saying? Because Prabhupada did not give us any other guru. Prabhupada is our only guru. So we shouldn't be enticed or influenced otherwise. So for these who are still holding on to Prabhupada's lotus feet, we really just want to take the association, chant with them, go out on Harinam with them, spend more time with them, read, understand how they think and why did they do this, and yeah, what can we basically gain from taking their association. So yeah. So we will always be like this, Prabhu. We will always be like this, because there was no one for us but Prabhupada. No one. So Prabhupada never sold us out. We will never sell Prabhupada out. We'll stick with him. The temples can go on. They can build so many temples. It's fine. We will continue chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra wherever we are and following Prabhupada like this.
On a lighter note, we love Harinam. We actually, it's intoxicating. It's intoxicating. I can't find the word to describe, but it's something which we really hold dear to our heart.
And we are not the best players, eh? We are not the best merdanga players. We are not the best katalas players.
Not the best singers.
We are not the best singers, but we get the potency. Whenever we chant, we can feel the presence of Prabhupada. We can feel Krishna with us, And yeah, we are happy just chanting and taking prasad. We really don't want much. Send us out to a Harinam, cook prasad. When we come back, let's take prasad and repeat.
So let's chant for just a few minutes, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, and we'll just be led by you guys. Let's go for it.
Okay. Jagannath.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Puravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatore Shatharine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Puravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatore Shatharine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Jai.
Hare Krishna. That was fantastic. I absolutely love that.
Thank you.
I'm feeling very elevated now, spiritually elevated on a higher platform.
Yes.
Jagannath.
Also, sorry, Prabhu.
So no, go ahead. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Bhima?
Some of our achievements, which we can say in a humble way, it was all from Prabhupada, is that we managed to have 3 tours, 3 preaching tours we had, and we traveled to Bloemfontein.
It's a province outside of Johannesburg, Bloemfontein. We
Um,
also went to Durban.
went to
From
Durban.
Johannesburg to Durban, it's a province also.
and we also did Joburg itself.
Yeah,
We spent a tour between Joburg itself.
we used to go to the University of Johannesburg and Wits University. These are the biggest universities in South Africa,
yeah,
right?
South Africa.
Me and him, we would go there from the temple almost every day, barefoot, merdanga in hand, katalas in hand. We will walk from the taxi rank to the universities on foot, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, whether whether it was hot, cold, raining, we would do that almost every day to distribute Prabhupada's books. We'd go to these universities, engage the students, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, taxi ranks. What else? The Muslim market. It's there also in my book. I wrote about it. So we basically, yeah, we want to share what Prabhupada did for us with as many souls as we come in contact with.
So how we actually managed to get these tours, we had a few sponsors due to Prabhupada's grace who basically donated and sponsored the tour for us to happen. And yeah, we're willing to do this more. We actually want to travel all over
Africa
and do Harinam tours.
And anywhere in the world,
Yeah,
really, everywhere in the world. But for me personally, my personal
is Africa.
Yeah, my personal dream is how can we infiltrate Krishna consciousness in such a nice way in Africa? Like, how can we become more attractive to the Africans and not repel Africans by being too Indian with it or being too, I don't know, institutional with it? How can we make it vibrant, bro? Make it lit.
Jagannath, it's been fantastic to have you as the guest on this week's podcast. It's been quite enlightening, and I've certainly felt your enthusiasm coming through, despite me being in a different part of the world. So that's been really, really good. I think what I'm going to do now, I'm going to wrap up the podcast, say goodbye to everybody at home, and you and I can have a brief chat after. We've been doing this for an hour and a half, believe it or not, 90 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It's one of the longer, because your enthusiasm keeps coming through. I love the fact that we've had Jagannath from Bethlehem at Christmas time.
Yes.
Jagannath was born in Bethlehem at Christmas time as the guest on this week's podcast. It couldn't be more appropriate, but obviously it's a different Bethlehem. So, Jagannath, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, but you and I can keep chatting after. Really, everybody watching at home, listening. It's been great to have Jagannath as the guest on this week's podcast. It's been great to hear his story, hear about his book. I shall be posting a link to his book, the Amazon link, on the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page very soon. I'm planning I've got a few days off over Christmas, so I'm going to be planning to read this.
Come to South Africa.
South Africa. I'm actually going to another country. I'm not going to say here.
Okay.
I'm not saying here. I'm going for a bit of respite to another country after Christmas.
Have fun there.
I am taking this with me to read. I can assure you.
Oh, wow.
And I plan to get through quite a bit of it whilst taking some respite. So Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's edition of the Hare Krishnas in Britain podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, please do share the link. Please do put a positive comment. What else could you do? You can like it, love it, or care for it. And please do send us your feedback. We've done almost 50 podcasts now. If there's something you want to see more of or less of, please let me know. And if any of the issues that we've talked about this week with Jagannath, if you want to find out more about, you can message this page, the Hare Krishna Project, and I will put you in direct contact with Jagannath as well. If you want to find out more about the ritvik order, you can talk to him. If you want to find out more about his book, and the honest truths of being a black Hare Krishna monk in South Africa, then yes, he is absolutely the right person to talk to. I'm just the facilitator. So I'm going to say goodbye to everyone at home, and then I'm going to have a bit of a debrief with Jagannath after. So I'll see you all on next. I couldn't find my cursor. Then on next week's edition. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.